I think that's working. I'm going to set up my light and stuff, just making sure that I'm in, okay? That's better. Okay, so I think it's just me. So I'm just basically recording for myself right now.
So this month was translucent powder, and one of my customers got it, and she said she never had it before, and she said, hands down, best thing ever. I'm gonna definitely, that's gonna be on my reorder list.
And you have it as a featured product, right? So it's not just like one product that they can get. It's like one specific product you've purchased.
It's one specific product. So next month it's gonna be under eye corrector.
Love that. Love that. This would be a good thing for you guys to do when it's product of the month as well, right? So when it's something that's like product of the month and you're like, cool, extra emollient night cream. If you get people hooked on extra emollient night cream, they be ordering again and again and again and again and again. And it's like a weird product. It's like things that people go, I don't really need it. How many of you never tried it till you tried it and then you were like, right. You know, I mean, people run up to my car to get extra emollient night cream. So that was the product of the month, still is for now until like 2 more hours, right? So, I mean, there's lots of options for preferred customers. Moira was just saying, like, preferred customer wish you would stand for a couple things. I'm going to mute everyone. There we go. Quiet there. And then you guys can unmute yourselves when you want to share so that there's no background weirdness. Cool. So then that way, if you wanted to, and you want it to count for your star totals and things like that, do what Andrea is doing, where it's one specific product for a $50 order. And then when you're giving away, you're not giving away a discount, you're giving away a free product, which then benefits you in the end. So instead of what's translucent powder, 16 costs you $8, you're probably giving away $8 in discount.
Yeah, 18, so it cost me $6.
Yeah, right? So 9. Is it 18? Cost you 9.
Yeah, 9. So like, yeah, 7. So yeah, I can't do that.
That's also a write-off. And you can take that product. You can't write off your GST you paid, and you can't write off anything else that you paid for preferred customer, but you can write that off for your taxes, and you can get the GST back for that. Yes? Do you guys all know how to get your GST back? Me neither. Okay.
No idea.
Let me just share here with you. Look at this. Oh, go gadget arms. See this envelope? This is 3 years of GST. So just to give you a little hope. So as we lead into a discussion about fear, we're going to talk about things like this, okay? So this is GST. So if you don't know this, this is amazing. Go to resources in your InTouch and go to tax information. Anything you have bought for personal or demo, you know how you pay full price GST? Yes? You can get back half of that from Mary Kay for purchase that you've done for your personal or your demo. And then you can get back half of what you paid for hostess gifts, anything you gave away as a discount, anything like that. Now, it's not a ton, but like a little goes a long way, man. Like this is like, I think there's probably $500 sitting in this envelope. Some of it's not worth the paper you're printing it on. Some of it I was printing and I'm like, 15 cents, Carol? That's 7.5 cents back. What are you doing? And sometimes I printed it twice. And I'm like, really? Ink costs money too. So, you know, there's that. But, you know, Willow, you're not going out again. Sorry. Okay. So now that you guys are all, I think everybody's here. I'm going to unmute you all again so everybody can say hello. Everybody.
Hello.
It's like the Brady Bunch when it's on gallery view. So if you're not on gallery view, I love gallery view. That's not just who's talking. If you've never tried this before, who's never been on Zoom before? You, Steph, you on Zoom?
Yeah, I've been on Zoom.
You have?
Hey,
Alfieri, have you been on Zoom?
I have, yeah.
Okay. All I'm
Yeah.
seeing is your ceiling.
I know, it's because I'm eating.
I love
So
it.
it's sitting on my lap.
Love that. Okay. Making me hungry. Okay. So Sarah is in here too, and it says she's raising her hand. I don't know why. Here we are. Okay. Sarah, are you here? There you are.
Yeah.
Unmute. I don't know why I muted you.
No.
There you go.
Yeah, I love your kitty.
Okay, so this is not my favorite way to do a meeting. It's effective, and especially with freezing rain. It's not enough to end up with it. So are you cool for me to mute everybody for a second? Give me one of these. I'm going to mute you all. There we go. Continue. Okay. So I want to talk to you about fear because this is what, 8 years that I've had a unit, okay? And for about 8 years, our Transformers theme has been bravery. We've been really focusing on being brave and focusing on feeling the fear and doing it anyway and all of these things. And there's a lot of new research that's been done in this last 8 years on what fear is and what fear does and how to manage it and all of these things. So how many of you can honestly say, just by a wave of your hand, and you can raise your hand in your meeting too, there's a little button if you want to raise a hand. Okay, but how many of you can honestly say that you have let fear rule you in one way or another in your business? You felt definitely fear, correct? Okay, so there's a really awesome TED Talk that I was talking about a little bit today in the meeting. The name of the TED Talk is What Fear Can Teach Us. And it is Karen Thompson Walker, who's an author. So she is just talking about what fear can teach us as when she's trying to write a novel, because most novels come out of a basis of fear. Most movies come out of a basis of fear. Yes? What would happen if this happened? So what she's talking about is basically this is the plot of Moby Dick, but this is in 1819. It's a whaling boat. They get hit by a sperm whale off the coast of Essex, okay, and off the coast of Chile. It's the Essex, it's called, okay, and it rips a catastrophic hole in the hull. So now they're more than 1,000 miles away from the nearest scrap of land. They're 10,000 miles from home. Hi, I love little kids on Zoom. Okay, more than 10,000 miles from home. They're in small boats. It's 1819. Yo, there's no iPhones. Okay, they're stuck. The only thing they know is that there's land that's super close and they can get there, but they've been told that there are cannibals on the land that will eat you. So children, okay, that there are tribes of people that will eat them. Now, those of you from that area of the world know that there probably weren't so much cannibals there, but they didn't know that, right, Gabby? Okay, so they didn't know that. Then they knew that Hawaii was close. Now, this is unpopulated Hawaii. This isn't Maui, but they knew that Hawaii was close and they could go there, but it's storm season, so they could get capsized by a storm. And they knew that Tahiti was farthest away and that the biggest risk with Tahiti was that they would die of starvation. Which one did they choose? You can unmute yourself if you want to answer. What did they choose?
Tahiti.
They chose Tahiti. And why?
It's nicer. I don't know.
They're all pretty nice. Chile, Hawaii, Tahiti. They chose it because it was the least scary in their brains. Yes? Because it's easy for us to make up a story. So I want you to take a piece of paper if you have one, or your phone or whatever, and I want you to write down a terrible fear you had in childhood. It can be ridiculous. Okay, a terrible childhood fear you had. In fact, the more ridiculous, the better. And those of you with little kids, you may not want them hearing the answers to these. So as soon as you've written it down, when you're ready to share, just unmute yourself and share your fear. And don't worry about talking over somebody. It's all set up so you can all talk together. It's fine.
Thunder and lightning storms.
Okay, what was so scary about thunder and lightning, Selena?
I really don't know. I just, as soon as it started to happen, I just froze, no matter where I was.
Did you imagine something happening because of the storm?
Yeah, I thought that it would kill my parents.
There you go. Okay. Thought you would kill your parents. All right. Anybody else?
Mine was talking to people.
And what did you think would happen if you talked to people?
So when I was younger, I used to pull my dress over my head because I figured if people couldn't see me, if I couldn't see them, they couldn't see me.
Right. No fear of people seeing their underwear, though.
No,
That's totally fine.
no, totally fine. Totally fine. Like people
Right.
like, oh yeah, I knew that girl by the color of her underwear, but
Uh-huh.
I figured that if because I couldn't see them, then they couldn't see me, and therefore I didn't have to talk to them.
And if you did have to talk to them, did you have fear about what would happen regarding that?
I froze up. I was a very shy person.
Love that. All right. Who else wants to share one?
I used to worry the witch under the bed would eat my fingers if they hung over the edge.
Right. Right. This is really common. Anybody else have one of those? Right? Yes. Okay. And it's funny because even we were talking in the hotel room this weekend. I stayed in the hotel with my friends for her birthday. And my friend Sarah's like, no, I always have to sleep in the bed closest to the door so I can get out from the person under the bed. I was like, sweetie, you're 40. There's no one under the bed. Like, you know, but that's how our brains work. She can't sleep with her hand outside of the blanket because something could grab her. She knows it's stupid, but it's this whole imagination thing. All right, what else?
I used to have a reoccurring dream that I was being chased by a big bull off of a mountain. I
A
don't know what it-
bull?
A bull, like
Oh, it's like a bull.
no, like a bull. It was like me and my dad were sitting on a couch, and then my dad turned into a bull and ran me off the mountain. I was young. My parents were getting divorced, so I think it obviously has something to do with that.
But did you imagine this bull vividly, right?
Clear as day.
You
Yeah.
could hear it, you could feel it. Now, had you ever seen a bull in real life?
No.
No, see? All right. Selena, had you ever seen anyone killed by a thunderstorm? No. Okay, Katie,
No.
had you ever seen a witch? No. Anyone else? Come on. Somebody's got to have one to top that.
Mine was that someone would break into my bedroom into our house through my bedroom window because I had the only big window that opened.
The only window that opened. Now, had anyone been broken into in your house?
Nope.
Ever? Were there break-ins in the neighborhood?
Nope.
Were there like stories on the news about it? Probably not.
Probably not.
Did you imagine the whole scenario?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
What you would do in response, everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? Hi, guys.
Yeah.
Did you imagine all of that? So
Yeah.
this is my point. Our imaginations are so incredibly powerful. And as children, we don't know how to imagine. We aren't taught that, correct? Nobody sat you down and said, here's what you're going to do, Crystal. You're going to visualize a bull.
Yeah. No.
Here's what a bull looks like. Here's how you're visualizing it. All of it, right?
Yeah.
I had this horrible fear of our van going off the side of a mountain. I lived in Manitoba. No mountains. Didn't matter, right? That's how our fears are. Okay. And so what happens though is that these sailors were so able to just super strongly visualize these cannibals that instead of going to the nearest land, they instead went to Tahiti. And most of them died. In fact, it's the plot of Moby Dick. Because they were so able to see that big fear, they couldn't see what could possibly happen from the one that wasn't so interesting. Yes? And so what her point is in the TED Talk is that we fear things like plane crashes, right? We fear mass murder. We fear lots of big things as adults. And yet the likelihood of us dying from overuse of plaque in our arteries is way higher than any of those. But we don't fear that enough. And we don't imagine that enough so that we work to prevent that. Correct? We won't go for the walk every day knowing that that will help slightly prevent that, because then we imagine that somebody might kill us on our walk, even though the likelihood of that is way less than dying of arterial disease. You're more likely to die of periodontitis, which means like your gums are diseased, than you are by a psycho clown. And yet, I don't know, but I'm terrified of clowns. Yes? So our imaginations do this. And what happens is we're taught to see fear as a weakness. So we're taught to see it as something that we need to overcome in childhood. But what if you instead learn to harness that fear and you learn to harness that power of imagination? And instead of harnessing it that wrong way and thinking, I have to overcome this fear, what if you turned that power of imagination into something powerful? You're able to still imagine the worst case scenarios, aren't you? So now let's talk about what is the biggest fear you have about becoming a sales director. What's your biggest fear? And I have a whole list, by the way, because we were asked it on our director group. So I have like a lot of irrational, crazy fears. So give it to me.
Fear of failing, not only yourself, but your team, which I feel like I've done that a little bit already with my business. So
okay, so you could fail your team.
Yeah.
Right? So now let's work that out. Okay, so what is the worst that can happen when you fail your team? What happens?
You pick them back up. I don't know. I don't know.
But even like, let's use your imagination. It's easier to imagine the bull, right? So
Yeah.
Let's imagine it in the most horrifying, crazy way possible.
I suck, I sell nothing, and I do nothing and go nowhere.
You do nothing, you go nowhere. All right, cool. What's another one? Come on. Y'all have them. Fear of letting your team down. What else? They can be stupid. They can be stupid little things you think you have to do as a director.
Well, shame comes from fear.
The shame that comes from fear, for sure.
Letting them down, letting people down, letting everybody down. You're ashamed, you're embarrassed, you're horrified, you're, pick one. Yeah.
Okay. What else, guys? What else would you have to do as a director that maybe, let's say you're successful as a director. Well, what scares you to be a successful director?
Maybe running meetings.
Running meetings.
Doing training.
Having all the answers.
Okay, good. Yeah, having to have all the answers. What else? That's worst case and those things, okay? So that's worst case. Let's like really
Maybe steering them in the wrong direction.
Yeah, so you've oh my gosh, you told them, what could you have told them? Let's think the most imaginative thing you could tell a consultant. Ready? What's the craziest thing you could tell them to do? You steered them in the wrong direction. You told them to put facial boxes in, I don't know where. What could you have told them to do?
Could have maybe told them to do something that was not legal.
Okay, that's fair. Is that something you think you would imagine doing?
Perhaps.
By accident or on purpose?
By accident.
Okay, all right, by accident. Okay,
maybe just like not being knowledgeable enough, right?
Yeah. So let's say you do this by accident. Let's say you tell everybody it's totally okay, for example, to post all their discounts on their main social media.
But we see it there sometimes anyways.
Yeah. What else? What would happen? So let's use your word. Like that's where this is about. You're going to harness the power of that imaginative process. You're going to feel that fear. You're going to name the fear and you're going to really get to know it. Just like Crystal knew that bull, she could probably tell you every name on its, like of every hair on its head. She could probably draw it from memory, right?
Yeah.
The more vivid you make it, then the more power that you also have to conquer it. So let's make that scenario so vivid. Let's make it so extreme. What would that look like? So you told everybody in your unit that it was totally okay to post sales on their social media, and they all did it. And then what? What happens?
Well, really nothing. You're wrong.
You're wrong. So what happens when you're wrong?
You fix it.
Mary Kay might call you.
Yeah.
What happens if Mary Kay calls you? Do you know?
Well, now you know. So like, is it really that bad? I don't know. So they call it like, I guess maybe you would just like have a slight heart attack because you messed up Mary Kay. You'd be like, Ma, But I guess the world isn't going to come to an end, is it?
True story. Could they terminate you?
Well,
I-
good.
I guess they could.
They could. Would they do it because you decided to tell everybody it was okay to post on social media because you didn't know the rules?
No, I wouldn't think so. I think they'd go, you need to read the legalese, Lena.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe the third time.
Yes. Okay.
If you were on stage and you told everybody in the audience that it was okay to do that for the third time, they might be like, listen, time for a come to Jesus. We're going to sort this out, right?
Yes.
But otherwise, maybe not so much. One of the ladies on here had a fear of wearing pantyhose.
Oh,
Just she thought all directors had to wear pantyhose and therefore didn't want to be a director. It's a fear of pantyhose. They don't fit. They might
No.
roll down. What if they rolled down in front of everyone at the meeting?
Well, you were on stage with somebody where a dress came up.
Yes.
Were.
Yes.
I was crossing 5 lanes of traffic in Mississauga. So you guys know, if you've been to the Toronto like area where we have seminar, you know how that big lanes? Okay, I was crossing that and my pantyhose decided to roll to my ankles halfway across the road. And I couldn't stop to pull them up because there's cars everywhere. So I had to like hang one walk. Don't buy pantyhose at Edition L. No. So, you know, like that, but we can look at that and say that's irrational. What are the fears that she's not realizing could happen when she doesn't become a director?
You just try again.
And what if like not becoming a director because of the pantyhose puts her family into debt?
Yeah.
She doesn't fear that. That is Tahiti to her. Do you get
Wow.
it? The
Wow.
cannibals that y'all are fearing aren't real.
Wow.
You've imagined the cannibals and you're forgetting about Tahiti. That there's not enough food and water to get you there. So you go for what you think is the easiest option that ends you up dead in a boat. And ironically, being eaten by other sailors. So here's the irony. Fear of cannibals kept them in that boat, and then they got cannibalized. Right? So fear of failure stops you from becoming a sales director because you might fail. What are you already doing?
Failing.
Failing.
Probably in your head, especially. Are you where you want to be? Nope. So chances are that's how you're feeling. Correct? But we don't fear that. That's our arterial plaque or our like periodontitis. We're like, whatever, we're fine. This is our status quo. We're good with this. We understand this. We've seen it before. We're okay. You don't realize that that's what's happening. But what we're not doing because we're so scared of what might happen is our Tahiti. Okay, so here's some of the other ones. I have to quit my job if I want to be a sales director.
I did that today.
Oh my God! Ooh, okay, wait. Crystal just quit her job, people.
I gave them notice. My last day is October 25th.
Holy doodle. How are you feeling?
I feel really good. Not gonna lie. I feel great. I feel good. I'm ready.
You're heading to the cannibals.
I'm going. Going to get eaten by the cannibals. Yeah.
Yeah. Screw it. Go to the cannibals, dude.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh my God. Oh. Whew. All right. We had to talk. I got goosebumps. That's amazing. All right. What do you think some other myths, misconceptions, or fears are about being a sales director?
One of the ones I was talking with another director about a long time ago was like your monthly quotas after you become a director.
Mm-hmm.
And that scared me.
Yeah.
Can't lie about it. It scared me and probably put the brakes on a little bit.
How many of you have the same fear?
Yeah, I'll say fear of maintaining. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Totally. This was my fear too. It's a reasonable fear. Just the same as the cannibals was a reasonable fear because they were told these stories. Yes? The storm in Hawaii was still a reasonable fear. Okay? This is a reasonable thing. And it's also the reason that a lot of directors fail. So that's fair. Okay? So now let's talk about it though, what that actually means. Because I think sometimes what happens is that we don't understand, so then we're scared. Selena didn't know what the statistics were for how many people actually got murdered by thunderstorms, so she was terrified. If maybe, because she probably didn't even voice these fears, because we don't give them names.
No.
Then somebody could have sat her down and been like, just a second, hang on. How many people do you think are just like randomly struck by thunder and lightning in their own homes? Maybe as a child you thought thunder could kill you. I did.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. Crystal probably did not know the statistical unlikelihood of a bull chasing her off the side of a mountain. I didn't know that there weren't any freaking mountains in Manitoba to be falling off of in a van. Yeah? So sometimes we just have to name that fear, and that's good. And that's what good entrepreneurs do is they plan for that inevitable failure. And planning for that can sometimes be the smartest thing you can do. Because that's a reasonable fear. So now if you start to though and look at it by planning that, and you can't just throw your dress over your head, right, Andrea, and pretend it doesn't exist. It does exist.
Especially not now.
Yeah, you can. I mean, not like a show.
I am not Annie. My dress will never go over my head.
But, when we don't know what we don't know, that's where fear is, right? What keeps you out of the ocean is that fear of the unknown of what's underneath it. Like there were people that didn't really want to snorkel with us because they were like, there could be a shark there. Statistically unlikely in the little lagoon we were in, but cool. Don't go in. Save yourself from that. Meanwhile, they could stop like you're more likely in Hawaii, by the way, to be killed by a falling coconut than you are by a shark. Ain't nobody walking around like this. Oh, coconuts. Nobody's walking around like that. But they won't go in the water because there might be a shark. We don't hear on the news about all the coconuts. So you're hearing about the sharks that exist. Yes? And so this shark, let's face this, is this lack of production. Here's the other disappointing thing about not making production or not doing very well as a director is you're not really going to get paid. So what if you could switch your brain to saying, I want a successful unit that is going to give me a really good paycheck?
Yes, please.
Because a successful unit that's going to give you a really good paycheck, you never have to worry about the minimums. I mean, in the last 7 years that I've been a director 8 years, and I can honestly say in the first year I did worry about it. The last 7 years, I've never worried about it. We are usually at production minimums by the 5th of the month. Do you want to be a director who worries about minimums and stays at the minimum so that you get the minimum paycheck? Or do you want to be a sales director who never has to worry about minimums? Because minimum quotas are no fun. There's no money there. Now, let's also train our brains to think, why do they have those minimum quotas? So why do they have that, you guys? What do you think?
I think to keep the directors working, focused, to help their team.
That's a good point. What do you mean when you say keep them focused? What kind of a director would you be if you weren't? So, for example, if you weren't focused on those things.
Well, then you'd be the director that went, woohoo, I'm a director now, so I'm just going to make money off everybody else.
Is that also in your fears, you guys?
No.
That fear? Of being that person that's cool, let's just make money?
No.
No, right? So your fear, none of you are scared about becoming this kind of sales director they're just
I think my fear
team.
might be the opposite, actually. Like, scared to become the director that maybe didn't motivate my team enough, and then I was trying to do it all by myself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fair. So when I said today, for example, and I don't know if you got on there today, and I just threw my earring backing all the way across the room. All right. So I said today, one of my things as a sales director is that I personally feel that I'm responsible for $2,500 in sales production every single month. And I know that I got a few people that were like, what the F? And freaked out about that. But the other part of that is that the more that I do, those of you who are in my unit and maybe weren't thinking about being a director, what was your thought then when I said that? So if you didn't hear it then, you think about it now, okay? Think about it from the perspective of a sales consultant that wants to make $600 extra a month.
Right.
What do you hear when she says that? The sales director says, it's my responsibility to make sure that half of that is done.
It was
First thing sorry, go ahead. Good.
When you said it, it sounded really, really big, but then you explained it more and it made a lot more sense because this, like, when like your direct recruit makes it, you take it off, and you're not going to make it to director without direct recruits that are working. So
correct.
It's a lot less scary at that point.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Crystal, go ahead.
I forgot.
So if you're a $600 a month consultant, you're not planning to be a
right. My first thought was that's double what I was already aiming for, just as a consultant, because I aimed for the 1,200. So
right.
Like more than that.
For the quarter sales ring, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you're thinking, oh no. But if you're part of the unit and you know that your leader is working just as hard as you are, what do you feel?
That you want to work hard.
Do you feel you have a partner in the business or somebody just telling you what to do?
Partner in the business for sure. Yeah.
Do you guys want to be directors who are the kind that crack the whip and tell the director kids what to do? Or do you want to be directors who are in the field with your people?
Yeah.
In the field.
Have you ever heard somebody on stage talking about how to do a party or something and you're thinking, I don't think you've done a party in 20 years?
No.
I have. It's not good. You know, like they're using old hostess programs and old stuff, and you're like, you haven't really been in the field. There's a level of authenticity that gets lost there when they're telling you to go do facial boxes and they don't have any new leads. When they're telling you to go get a gold medal and they're not getting anyone new in. Now think about it from that perspective of that you don't want that from a leader. You also maybe don't want to be that kind of leader. Do I always hit my goal?
I would think so.
No. Because there's another level, and Lori touched on it before about having to know all the answers. There's another huge fear about being a sales director in that you have to be absolutely freaking perfect, and you got to always do what you said you would do.
Carol, I think this meeting's going to end in less than a minute.
It says